Welcome to Shape Your Life, the show that keeps you in touch with all your health-related matters. I'm Ronald Abaji. And seeing that it's holiday season, we will be focusing on health and safety checks for those who will be traveling. Here's a look at what we have in store for you. In our show today, sugar drinks tax gets a thumbs up. We unpack the threats of the sun and how to protect yourself against attackers. In line with the 16 days of activism against the abuse of women and children, we'll be sharing self-defense tips. But that's coming up a bit later in the show. Right now, though, let's take a look at your health news.
In your health news, South Africa has joined countries like Portugal, India, Saudi Arabia and Thailand, who have all passed a sugar tax law in 2017. The Parliament of South Africa gave the proposed sugar tax a thumbs up this week, bringing an end to 18 months of negotiations. The law is set to be implemented on the 1st of April in 2018, and it is seen as a win for public health as they aim to reverse the increasing cases of diabetes as well as obesity in the country. However, this might see an increase in products like Coca-Cola, where the price of a can is expected to increase by 11%. A UK study has revealed that air pollution can cancel out the benefits of exercise in older adults. The study, conducted by the Imperial College, recruited 119 volunteers over the age of 60 who were healthy and had a stable heart disease. The team took physical measurements from the participants before and after walks in London and collected data on pollution levels to measure participants' exposure. They were unsurprised to find that noise and pollution levels were significantly higher on Oxford Street than in Hyde Park, including higher levels of black carbon and nitrogen dioxide. The exposure to air pollution was found to not be beneficial to the volunteers' respiratory and cardiovascular systems.
Many of us around this time of the year prefer to laze on the beach, but have you considered the dangers the sun imposes? We spoke to nurse Karen Bester from Lamel to find out how you can protect yourself this festive season. Karen, thank you so much for joining us on Shape Your Life.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here today.
With the South African climate known for being heavy on the sun and the sun shining everywhere, especially in the December period, and many people being outdoors, what is the impact of the skin when you have direct exposure to the sun?
Well, I think we're all aware of the burning and the blistering and, of course, turning brown and how healthy a tan is. Nobody's taking charge of the fact that there are long-term effects. So if you look at the statistics, most of the sun damage that you will have on your body happens before you even turn 18. And I mean, I see in the industry that I work in, I see a lot of people coming to me and saying, but I didn't do anything wrong in the last 10 years, but now I've got spots. Why? Because you did that damage earlier on in your life. You were too sun exposed. You continually burnt your nose and it peeled off continuously. So we're not looking at that and we're not seeing those effects until it's sometimes too late. And so our message is always prevention is better than cure, but one of the biggest challenges, of course, in South Africa at this stage is the skin cancer rate. Being exposed to sunlight increases your skin cancer rate. Doesn't matter what color skin you have, doesn't matter what gender you are, the statistics differ a little bit based on age, but it really is very much about the fact that at the moment we've got the highest skin cancer rate in the world. So one sun exposure and one sunburn before the age of 18 can have a vast impact on your later life and on your skin cancer rating or possibility.
How would you know that your skin is now burnt, that you've been in the sun for too long and you've got sunburn? What are the signs and symptoms thereof?
I think, well, the first thing is sensitivity. If you have any sensitivity in your skin, so your skin's feeling a little bit uncomfortable. We've all had that, you know, when you've gone to the rum festival and you didn't reapply your sunscreen and it was a nice party and you get home and you're feeling uncomfortable, not from the rum, but from the sun. That already is an indication that damage has been done. When you're getting to the point where you burnt and you're red, your body's responding to DNA damage. So we know that that DNA damage has already happened when you've got that redness. And that's really, they call it the minimum erythema dose. That can be anything, and it's going to depend on what skin color you are, where you are in the world, and also what time of the day you're exposed to the sun. But that is definite damage. And then the worsening, of course, is the blistering and the flaking.
What would you advise people to actually apply or not apply, or actually do to begin to mitigate that and allow their skin to recover?
I think what we're very focused on, once the damage is done, you need to get antioxidants onto your skin. So you'll see a lot of this, your sunscreens have antioxidants in them. Just try to minimize the amount of damage that you potentially can do afterwards. Of course, it's very important to cool the skin down. I like the fact that sometimes a good an oral anti-inflammatory, like ibuprofen or something like that, is a good idea. And then it is about hydrating and moisturizing and looking after that skin. Now, if you've got blisters, you're going to need something like a tea tree oil. I don't want to name a brand, but there's a nice Burns brand out there that has a nice tea tree based oil to cool the skin down. And once the skin's cool, then you need to keep it moisturized, because you have to allow your skin to heal. And of course, then you have to stay out of the sun. This whole fallacy with, if I go down to the coast and I don't put any sunscreen on, and I spend 3 days in the sun and I burn myself to a smithereen, because then I'll be safer. That is such a bad habit, and it's such a bad, you are definitely destroying your skin, and you are increasing your risk for sun damage. So if you've burnt, stay out of the sun. Make sure that you're putting your sunscreen on regularly and that you're reapplying. That's another thing, is that a lot of people go, but I've got an SPF 50 plus.
Yeah.
So why did I burn? Well, did you reapply after you came out the water?
They say, no, we apply body lotion, and the body lotion says it's got some SPF in. What's your thoughts on that?
No, if you're going to be on the beach and you're going to be outdoors, you have to protect. Now, I mean, we were talking about it the other day, is the fact that cigarettes have a lung cancer warning on them. Our beaches don't. So you need to apply sunscreen. I also know that there is this tale with the fact that you're creating a false sense of security and you should actually burn so that you know that your skin's damaged. But no, sunscreen, you need to apply sunscreen specific product. Lotions on their own is not enough, but you definitely do need to wear something with a proper SPF. And if you are on the beach, SPF 50 and up, 50 plus is what you're going to need.
But does that depend on your skin tone or color as well? Because some people will say, you know, the darker skin doesn't need that high SPF and the lighter skins do. You know, what do we do with that?
Okay, so you and me. Right. I am what Dr. Fitzpatrick calls a skin type 1. When I go into the sun, I go bright red and I burn very easily. Okay, Ronald, you are probably a skin type 4. I'm guessing that when you go into the sun, you go very dark very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. The SPF difference between our skins is an SPF of 3.
Wow.
Okay, so you are only 3 times more protected than I am. If you're using an SPF 50, it means that you'll take 50 times longer to burn. It doesn't mean you're not going to burn. Okay, so the whole sunblock thing, where people went, but I've got a sunblock on.
Yeah.
No, you still have an SPF rating, so you still will burn after a certain period of time. It is true that your skin is probably more protected than mine. So the pigment in your skin will protect the lower layers of your skin. But you're a higher risk for melanoma type cancers, where I'm a higher risk for non-melanoma type cancers. So the type of cancer that we get is different. But really, the darker your skin, it doesn't mean that you're well protected. You need to put on sunscreens.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I think this is information that we need to listen to, adhere to, and then practice each and every day, whether we're on holiday or not, because the same principles do apply. Karen, thank you so much for your time, for sharing your knowledge with us and joining us on Shape Your Life.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure, Ronald.
Now that you're aware of the dangers of the sun, it's also important for those traveling to know about the risk when it comes to traveling to foreign countries. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us on Shape Your Life.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
With the holiday season ahead, many people will be traveling abroad and locally, but with traveling abroad, you always identify that you need to get these types of vaccinations, these kinds of shots. What does that mean and why is it so important?
Travel medicine is very important, okay? I think holidays are always a fun part and something that people look forward to, absolutely. However, traveling to certain parts of the world brings different diseases. One of the things that patients don't normally look at when they're planning a holiday is what is different in the country that I'm going to, weather, diseases, depending where you're traveling. Okay, there's lots of diseases which are not found in this country, and there are lots of immunizations that we can give to try and prevent those diseases. Okay, for example, okay, let's take, traveling into Central Africa, to South America. We've all heard about yellow fever, and yellow fever is obviously a very important thing. Okay. And it's twofold that's important, okay? It's important that we immunize against yellow fever, firstly, to try and prevent you from getting yellow fever when you're traveling there. And secondly, the important thing is for you not to bring it back into the country.
But I mean, that's great to know because there's so many, variables wherever you're traveling. So
That's
it boils down to
huge
doing the homework on that area.
It's doing homework on the area, seeing what disease processes there are. One of the biggest problems is that, when we look at travel medicine, we tend to focus on immunizations, okay, because there's something I can do, most of the time there's something we can do about it, but there's all the other things, the diarrheas, the traveler's diarrhea, the foodborne diseases, where some of them we can immunize against, like typhoid, but a lot we can't.
Do we then take medication from here overseas, to prevent stomach cramps or to help with diarrhea, or do we wait till we get there?
It's a bit of a difficult thing, okay. With a lot of my patients, I tend to give them a little bit of a travel pack, okay. Obviously with very strict instructions on how to use, how not to use, also with myself being available either via WhatsApp or email, so if they do run into problems before they actually start taking something, they can drop me a little message, and I say, start this, start that. That's what the travel pack is. A lot of executives traveling overseas, we were talking about executives just now, they normally go with a travel pack, okay, and everything's very much spelled out on this is what you take if you get X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
okay, so they know what's happening, and we can treat the minor illnesses, the minor gastros, the minor flus quite simply with medication in a travel pack.
And speaking about local travel, we know that there's high malaria areas, as you go close to the
Absolutely.
Kruger. What can someone that's traveling to that region, what should they do?
If you're going to a malaria area, you've got to have prophylactic medicine, okay? We need to take prophylaxis. If you're close to the area, it's something that needs to be discussed. Mosquitoes don't follow boundaries and borders, and so it's important, even if you're going close to the area, that you do discuss it with a travel consultant or travel doctor. They're getting all the updates of all the areas, and they know exactly what is happening and what is not happening. But it's important to get malaria prophylaxis. I can't stress that any more than that, okay? One of the biggest problems with travel medicine, we talk about malaria, we talk about immunization, we talk about all these things. We don't talk about car accidents. Right. We don't talk about diarrheas. There's a lot that's not caused by bugs, not caused by parasites, not caused by viruses. Okay, things like things like car accidents, all these things do happen. Okay, there's still crime, there's still everything else, and you've got to be very vigilant. And people tend to go on holiday, and all of a sudden, all the vigilance they've had for the last 10 months at home and making sure that everything's okay and driving carefully, they go on holiday and everything goes out the window.
Doctor, what about these long-haul flights? What would your tips be for those that are on there? Because, the acronym a few years ago and still is relevant is DVT.
Is DVT. Absolutely. Okay, long-haul flights are quite interesting, okay? The big thing from a prevention, from a DVT point of view, is movement, number one. So you're making sure that you're moving your legs all the time, getting up, walking around, those sort of things. And secondly is keeping yourself hydrated, okay? And we do know that unfortunately as you increase the altitude, we tend to get dehydrated. We tend to not want to move because there's somebody next to you and you don't want to irritate them, but you actually have to. Most of the airlines have a little insert and they tell you how to move your legs, whatever the case may be. We've all seen those. We actually got to do it. The other thing that works quite nicely are the flight stockings. Okay, they work very well. If you're worried about it or you're worried about getting to the other side with big swollen legs, which means you haven't moved enough, okay, all right, those travel stockings also work very well. The interesting thing though is we talk about long haul flights. However, driving to Durban for 6 hours in the car is doing exactly the same thing. And we don't have a nice little piece of paper that tells us, make sure you move your legs. Okay, and most people say, yes, we know we need to stop every 2 hours. A lot of people do it straight through, which is wrong. Okay, it's not good for the driver, but it's definitely also not good for the passengers. Okay, so DVT is not only on a long haul flight, also local travel. Okay, Durban, Cape Town, PE, wherever you're driving to, or from there to Joburg. I mean, obviously vice versa. That DVTs also play a big part there. Okay, but it's also knowing your risks. Okay, and that is something that you need to know from, you should be seeing your general practitioner, your doctor, your specialist, whatever the case may be, and you've got to know your risks, and at least we can prevent it. And then these are the sort of things that we can do. Okay, so DVTs play a huge part.
These are key things that we need to be cognizant of, irrespective of the means of travel,
Absolutely.
The duration thereof. But I love what you said when you said that it's not just about what disease you can get or what sickness you get. It's also about the lifestyle associated with that, and it's a cognizance about it for yourself and your children.
It's part of the mindset, unfortunately. You know what I mean? It's part of the mindset that we tend to go on holiday and we forget about everything. We forget about safety. We forget about all the things that we normally do. We won't let the kids around the pool, and we'll make sure the pool gate is closed because there's a routine when you're at home. As soon as you're not at home, there's no routine. Suddenly, where are the kids? Is somebody watching them? What happens with a two-year-old toddler who suddenly ends up in a pool? Okay, are we watching the kid when we're on the beach? And we don't have our routines, and that's where things go wrong. Okay.
Doctor, what are your top few tips for those travelers this holiday season?
Prepare. Be prepared. Be prepared. Be vigilant. Okay. Make sure you consult with your general practitioner, travel consultant. Make sure you know where you're going. Make sure what to expect. Okay, and basically be prepared.
Doctor, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you and everybody else safe and healthy travels.
Absolutely, you guys do. Okay, thanks a million.
Thank you.
All right.
It's time for us to take a quick commercial break. We have more when we return. After the break, we attend a self-defense class. Stay tuned.